My name is JD Garland. I am a livestock farmer. It's ironic to be debating vegans on whether animal agriculture or crop agriculture is more harmful. The whole premise of being a vegan is to do the least amount of harm possible. Vegans do not really like to focus on the animal deaths that are associated with the crop agriculture.
Looking at crop deaths from plant agriculture, it's estimated that there are 7.3 billion animal deaths per year, which include mouse deaths, birds killed by pesticides, fish killed by fertilizer runoff, and lizards and amphibians killed by eating pesticide-contaminated insects.
In our first debate, JD spent 90% of the 2 hours we had here trying to convince us that the soy industry is driven by the human consumption of soy oil. Soy meal never in history has been looked at as a byproduct of the soy oil industry like Garland claims. Some places, including soyinfocenter.com, consider it a byproduct of the meal. Soy oil is a byproduct of soy meal from the animal agriculture industry. Therefore, the responsibility of the crop deaths fall on the animal ag industry.
The soy that's being fed to animals is industrial waste left behind after soybean extraction.
Once there becomes enough of a demand for a product where it can literally drive the production purely on that individual product. So for example, with soy meal, it's been so heavily demanded that it's literally driven the production of soy. It's not just the waste from it, it becomes a part of why that item exists. It's one of the reasons that soy is being grown now. Soy meal is a co-product. That means that animal agriculture has to take responsibility for the damages and the deaths along with the oil.
And so I was actually the first one to say that soy meal is a co-product. Once the soybean oil has been extracted from the soybeans, the fibrous waste or byproduct that's left over, a byproduct, that's a byproduct? What's a byproduct? Or byproduct of soybean oil extraction. The byproduct, 80% byproduct, soybean byproduct, the byproducts, the co-product, any byproducts, these byproducts, co-product, byproduct, and now he says the co-product. It's the same thing. It really is.
So let's talk about co-products, because I think people need to realize how important this is. If soy meal is a co-product, that means that animal agriculture has to take responsibility for the damages and the deaths along with the oil.
Okay, the reason that I'm denying that it's a co-product is because the definition does not fit. So I was actually the first one to say that soy meal is a co-product. It's post-processing industrial waste that they're feeding to animals. And we clearly see Garland saying soy meal is a byproduct, and now he says it's a co-product. It's the same thing. It really is.
Is it a co-product or is it?
I'm gonna allow you to make an ass of yourself, Jeffrey.
You just said byproducts and co-products are the same thing and they don't matter. And it doesn't matter, but it absolutely does matter. Is it a byproduct or a co-product? Because how you described it in your words, you described a co-product.
You're the one that's saying that it's a co-product. If you're going to say it's a co-product,
it's a co-product. The world calls it a co-product.
So I was actually the first one to say that soy meal is a co-product.
The industry looks at it as a co-product.
The National Soybean Board is calling it a byproduct. Then you, some bicyclist from California.
So let's look at some quotes from some of the soy organizations, shall we? So, for example, we have got, let's have a look, the National American Soybean Association, who says soybean oil is a co-product of the protein and meal production. I've got a video here, Mac Marshall, the VP of Market Intelligence for the United Soybean Board, saying it's a co-product. We've got US Soy. Why soybeans are grown primarily for soy meal's value in livestock, soybean oil serves as a co-product. Why are you denying this? And the reason you are denying it is because you don't want to take responsibility that livestock are also causing crop deaths. So will you concede, considering I've got all the evidence?
Shut your fucking mouth for a second and I will answer your question. Shut your mouth and let me answer.
Shut your mouth.
Okay, the reason that I'm denying that it's a co-product is because the definition does not fit. So I was actually the first one to say that soy meal is a co-product. A co-product and a byproduct are two different things. Beef cows eat 0.5% of the world's soy co-product. A byproduct and a co-product are defined by the processing, the manufacturing process.
Mm-hmm.
How are soybeans processed? Through a soybean oil expeller.
And what comes out the other side of that machine?
Oil.
Soy meal.
It's a soybean. Chris, are you denying that it's a soybean oil expeller? Chris, are you okay? Can you link us to a soybean meal expeller?
Garland, why does
Okay,
this
then
matter
let's
to
see
the
it.
argument?
Shut up, Jeffrey. I'm talking to
Articulate
Chris.
why the raw soybean for forage is too fattening, so they got a oil extractor to
there's
get
a
the
video.
oil
Let
out.
Chris answer, Jeffrey. Shut your pie hole.
There's a video here. It's literally one machine. It all comes out of one part. The meal comes out of the
It's
other.
called a soybean oil extractor.
Yeah, and it does
expeller.
both things, right? It gives you
It's a
meal and
soybean
oil.
It's a
Does it give you
soybean
meal and
oil
oil?
expeller.
Does it give you meal and
It's
oil?
a soybean oil expeller.
I don't care what the name is. Does it give you meal and
come
oil?
out?
It expels the oil.
And the meal. I literally just quoted all the major soybean boards saying it's a co-product, right? You were saying, oh, the National Soybean Association, right? They haven't even got a website. Where's the website from? I tried to Google it. Show me the link. I'm waiting. Come on.
What link are you wanting me
The
to show
National
you, vegan?
Soybean Association. You say it's a byproduct. Where's this link? You never showed it.
Yes, I did.
Where?
I showed it, didn't I, Andrew?
Did you see it, Jeff? Did anyone see it? I didn't see it.
Open your eyes.
You in your live stream the other day clearly said
I
was the first person. Hold on. You said clearly I was the first person to ever say that soy meal was a co-product. Then afterwards, you looked all confused and you had to Google the difference between a byproduct and a co-product because you didn't even know what it was.
So I was actually the first one to say that soy meal is a co-product.
Both of these products are being made together, whether it's one machine or two machines, whatever you want to argue, and they both hold value, which is what makes them a co-product.
That's what I've always said.
The rest of the soy that's being fed to animals is industrial waste left behind after soybean extraction.
But the links you sent me, Garland, pretty much all of them say that historically soy meal has been the driver of this. And this is from your own links. I'm happy to send them all to you. Historically, meal prices have been the main driver of soybean values. Soybean meal has been a steady hand of the wheel for demand for many years. Soybean meal used to be used so plentiful decades ago that restaurants, food manufacturers, and other industries couldn't use it all. Like, these are your links. These are just quotes from your links.
Chris,
I don't know why you're denying this. And the only reason you are denying it is because you don't want to admit that animal agriculture.
Chris, you have to let me speak at some point.
That's all it is.
This Garland Farms versus all the high top tier vegans started with the top tier vegans claiming that all of the crop deaths were on the shoulders of animal agriculture because you're going to have to shut your mouth, Chris, and let me speak.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter whether you want to call it a byproduct, a co-product.
It matters
was
a lot.
that to extract the oil through soybean oil expellers to separate the oil from the meal. Yep. And the livestock consume 98% of the meal, and humans consume right now 2% of the meal. Whether it's a co-product or a byproduct doesn't matter. The fact is that they're making a product, they're making a profit on both. I will agree with that.
If you can have one product that's created as an excess of another product, and we would call that byproduct.
Yeah.
What are you stating a byproduct is exactly?
So obviously one of them is just a residual waste product. With a co-product, it's actually a part of the market driver. Like soybean meal has actually been historically the main driver, the main reason. A byproduct can become a co-product if there is a market enough for it. Once it becomes a co-product, for example, with soy, it's one of the reasons that soy is being grown now. It's not just the waste from it. It becomes a part of why that item exists.
But let's say to your example of sawdust, we had a sawmill.
Yeah,
we would agree that the product of the sawmill was like, let's say 2x4s. That's what they're producing. A byproduct of the 2x4 production is this sawdust, right? But it turns out that they could bag that sawdust and send it to some energy company that does some type of sawdust slow burn, or they make mold out of it or some bullshit that we don't fucking know about, right?
Sure.
They sell this, and this ends up actually making them more money than the actual product they were making before, are you claiming that that's what makes it a co-product, or is it still a byproduct?
It would become a co-product once it takes over that, majority of the profit.
Once there becomes enough of a demand for a product where it can literally drive the production purely on that individual product. Or with soy meal, it's been so heavily demanded that it's literally driven the production of soy. I had fun the other night.
Oh, I've had better times.
You've had better times.
So we had so much fun.
Yeah, let me verify what I think you said, and you can say I'm correct. Okay, I want to be fair. From what I can gather, you have always admitted that 7% of the soy is fed directly to animals, right? You've always said that, and I've got no issue with that. The way I have the contention is you've always seemed to argue that the rest of the soy, because the 100% of the oil is going to humans, and the meal is going to the animals, you always kind of argue that, well, that was only a waste product. The humans are having all the oil, therefore we don't take any responsibility for that portion. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
No.
The rest of the soy that's being fed to animals is industrial waste left behind after soybean extraction.
That is not exactly what I said.
Okay, well, can you clarify then, so I understand what you say?
It's not all the livestock, because these are joint products. The oil and the soybean meal are produced at the same time, and so both.
It sounds like very different to what you've been saying.
No, it's not. It's a soybean oil expeller.
Does it give you meal and oil?
It's a soybean oil expeller.
So with soy, for example, if we're comparing how much soy is fed to livestock compared to how much is fed to humans, this isn't including biofuel, because this is something that you seem to add in. You want to say the entire of human consumption. If we're talking diet to diet, we can't include things like biofuel. It's nothing to do with the diet. And it's being used by animal agriculture for whatever they use it for machinery. It's being used for for vegans, for other things.
This is, I think, where I'm not going to let you.
Okay,
where you want to go.
Well, hold on.
This is the truth.
Do you not agree with that stat? Do you not agree with that stat?
No, I agree that humans are consuming biodiesel. Are humans consuming biodiesel?
I mean, not in their diet.
Not in the diet sense. No, if we're talking diet to diet,
humans consume entertainment. They consume podcasts. They consume.
I'm not sure what you're talking about here.
They consume diesel.
We're talking about diet. We wouldn't say entertainment's a part of someone's diet. Music isn't part of someone's diet.
If humans are consuming it in any way, then it's being consumed by humans. We're not talking about just nutritionally.
No, we're
talking. Yeah,
we're talking about plant-based versus meat.
I think this is our next stepping stone that we'll have to iron out, which is you're saying that biodiesel is not being consumed by human beings.
I'm saying it's not being fed to human beings. We're talking about food.
But are they consuming it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Garland, if we're saying they're consuming,
we're not talking about diet.
Well, hold on. If you're saying
we're talking about soybeans.
No, hold on. If you're saying we consume it, then also you are consuming it as well. We're all consuming it.
That's a tu quo way that you're.
No. It just puts the responsibility back on everybody again.
I'm not saying that I'm not consuming it. Okay.
Well, you need to put that in your numbers. If you want to put it. No, hold on. If you want to put it in the numbers for the opposition, if you want to add biofuel into the numbers for the vegan menu, you got to include biofuel on the numbers for the animal agriculture side.
No. I'm not putting it in for the vegan menu.
Well, you currently are.
Putting it in for the human consumption. It's not for the vegan menu. It's for human consumption.
Okay, then let me ask then, why are you talking about human consumption when the debate is clearly animal diet versus vegan diet? We're not talking about human consumption as a whole. We're talking about diet versus diet, right?
No, we weren't talking about diet.
Well, that's what everyone else seemed to think we're talking about.
We're talking about animal agriculture versus crop agriculture.
Jeffrey, you're under the, I guess you chatted to Garland beforehand. I'm guessing you... Yeah, this is what you thought, right?
We need to sort out a proposition and a premise for the debate.
The premise that I offered was that you were arguing that crop agriculture kills fewer animals than animal agriculture.
We can do, does a meat-based diet cause more harm than a vegan diet, period? Plant-based, meat-based versus plant-based harm across the board. I think you also mentioned something about soy. Like we can definitely add that. What does more harm to the environment, meat-based or plant-based?
JD, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would work.
Because if this is what you
Always.
thought, then obviously this wasn't ironed out prior. I don't think anyone would assume that biofuel would come up in an argument against like
I called
animals
you out
versus
the first time
plants.
you brought it up. I was like, we're not consuming biofuel.
Yes,
You
we
know,
are.
it was on the first debate.
Because the thing is, if you want to do
Not
it like that,
relevant to the conversation.
We have a consumer economy around. We're also consuming drink. We're also consuming entertainment. We're consuming clothing. We're consuming slave products from China. We're consuming marijuana that's being grown with pesticides. We're consuming.
what was the proposition?
Jeffrey, do you remember
There's
that
no
proposition?
consumption. Nope, it was never consumption.
What was
It was plant-based versus animal-based. And you said in our first debate it was consumption, it was human consumption, and I was like, that's absolutely not what was ever said.
Yeah. And I don't know why. If you came to me and said that argument, I'd be like, why are we having that argument? I don't want to. This isn't about biofuels. Like, why would you include biofuel in a thing which is, any debate which is meant to be vegan versus meat eater or anything? We do not talk about things that aren't food-based unless it's very specific, like you want to talk about animal testing or you want to talk about talk about pharmaceuticals or something in that sense. But any normal debate, biofuels, I don't think that's the way to do it. And if that's how you've been arguing, you've been like, it hasn't been discussed. We've been arguing two different things, completely different things. Would you agree there that everyone might have been arguing two completely different things?
We may have. I'm trying to look up the last proposition that he gave me.
What does more harm to the environment, meat-based or plant-based?
JD, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is between you and Jeffrey. You're going to have to
Yes,
look up, 'cause I don't
he
know.
says the words that he used were plant-based diet versus animal-based diet, which does more harm to the environment in the world
Okay,
today.
well, there you go then. So why are we bringing the percentage of biofuel from oil into a thing about crop deaths? For food. Can I finish what I was going to say and then you can do your rebuttal? Think about it this way, right? If we've got 100 soy plants, right, and we're using all those 100 soy plants for either for oil purposes, we're either using them for biofuel or for cooking, right? 40 of those crops the oil will be used for cooking oil. And 60 of the crops will be used for biofuel. Right? As a result of the oil being produced, there will be meal on 100% of those crops. So if 90% goes to the animals, then there'll be a large portion of those crops grown which are only for biofuel and only for livestock feed. Right? And it'll be a larger portion than it would be for just cooking oil and the other end. You kind of get what I'm saying? I'd like to focus on this one argument. Just this, because this is what we were talking about a hell of a lot. So I want to get a concession whether you agree or whether you can actually debunk what I've just said. I'm saying when we look at it, food products only, 40%
so we're not
more.
looking at all human consumption, right?
No,
we're going to look at a very narrow.
That's factored in. It's factored in that there's biofuel. You can see it, literally that. Actually, can we share this on the screen?
I am going to use this video to go ahead.
Please do.
Because you don't want to go over the full numbers. I'm going to later show everyone the human consumption of the crop agriculture.
Go ahead. That's that.
Because right now you're narrowing.
Go ahead. That won't be proof that the vegan diet.
Not what we're consuming in other ways.
Garland, go ahead and do that because it doesn't disprove what we're arguing against, which is the vegan diet.
The ethanol.
The vegan diet in this case is causing less damage than the meat-eating diet. That is the argument we're presenting. If you want to debunk us on a completely separate point we're not even trying to make, go ahead. Just make sure to include this bit I've said here. Because we're talking about diet and diet only. I don't know why you're bringing biofuel into it. It seems more you want to bring biofuel into it because it improves your argument. That's what it more seems like.
Well, humans are consuming it and it's being blamed on livestock.
But no one's eating it. We're not there eating it. No one's got a glass full of biofuel and they're downing it.
We're vegans.
You want to say that we're wrong on this point? Will you concede that I'm okay when it just becomes just to diet only? If it's diet only, not overall human consumption, purely diet, will you concede that more soy goes to animals than it does to humans? From the statistics presented, purely eating.
Let me look at these numbers.
Yeah, feel free, have a look.
7% going directly to humans, 7% going directly to livestock.
Yep.
And then 60 going to cooking oil. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see how by removing the biofuel consumption, then you can manipulate the numbers.
No, it's not manipulating. It's just because it's talking about food. It's not manipulating. We're just talking about food. That's why it doesn't exist.
Okay,
right?
I agree.
Okay, so
with the soybean, yeah.
Okay, so do you concede that in this case here, more soy is fed to animals than humans? Be honest. Come on.
More is being consumed by humans, but more is being fed to livestock.
Okay, that's what we wanted. That's it. Okay. So therefore, when it comes to soy, more crop deaths and more damage is responsibility of animal agriculture than it is vegans. With soy.
I never said
with
vegans.
soy.
I never said vegans. I said crop agriculture.
Can you concede that livestock, so animal foods, is responsible for more crop deaths, more pesticides, and more damage than the human food element of soy? From what you've just conceded, you should say yes because you've agreed there's more being grown for them. It should be a very simple answer.
Well,
come on, be on, Garland. Please just be honest.
Since you're removing the biofuel consumption that humans are doing,
which we're totally fine with.
You're making us focus just on a very thin portion of what's being produced. Then technically, you would be right.
Okay.
Technically.
I think most sensible people will see why we're not including biofuel in this argument.